Here's my thoughts on it. I am opposed to all scapegoating and repression of the immigrant community because it doesn't help anyone in any way. Generally, people that are anti-immigrant, they say immigrants drive down wages. They say immigrants come to this country illegally. They're involved with criminal organizations. Well, those are both true, right? It is true that immigrants, foreign labor does drive down domestic wages. That's true. It is also true that immigrants coming to the United States in ways that are not legal, they often have to cooperate with criminal organizations. All of the responses that anti-immigrant folks want, that conservatives want, make those problems worse. If you want criminal organizations to flourish in immigrant communities, make people scared to call the police. Make immigrant families terrified. Make it hard to come here legally. All of the anti-immigrant policies make criminal organizations flourish. And on top of that, if you're concerned about immigrant workers decreasing the wages of domestic workers, it's illegal under U.S. law to pay an immigrant less than minimum wage. But employers do it all the time. Why? Because immigrants are terrified to report their employers. They don't want to get deported. They're scared. So the more you criminalize immigrants, the more you terrorize immigrant communities, the more you make the children of immigrants afraid their parents won't come home. Their parents won't be there when they get home from school. The more you raid and devastate communities, the worse all these problems get, right? That's just a fact. That's just a fact. The more you terrorize immigrant communities, the easier it is for employers to pay poverty wages. The easier it is for criminal gangs to flourish in immigrant communities that are afraid to cooperate with law enforcement against them. All these anti-immigrant laws help make the problems worse. And that's what conservatives don't care about that. When I talk to folks that are anti-immigrant, they don't care about that. They're mad. They're mad at immigrants. Immigrants are the scapegoat, and they want someone to pay. Yeah, someone got deported. Yeah. Okay, you don't solve problems by harming people, right? They don't care about actually solving the problems. They don't care about wages not going down. They don't really care about criminal organizations. They just want to punish people, and that's reprehensible, right? If you're concerned about immigrant workers getting paid less than minimum wage, why don't you support the labor movement unionizing immigrant workers? Why don't you support law enforcement and the Department of Labor cracking down on employers who pay immigrants poverty wages? Why don't you crack down on that? Why don't you make sure that every worker, whether they're documented or undocumented, gets paid a decent wage and has a union representation on the job? And that would get rid of the problem of immigrant workers driving down wages. That would get rid of that problem. But they don't care about that. Right? Why don't, if you're so concerned about MS-13 and criminal gangs, why are you not then concerned about making sure that immigrant communities are not afraid to call the police? Right? I mean, I've said this over and over again, that so much of the anti-immigrant bigotry that we get in the Trump community is not based on actually wanting to solve problems. Right? There is a problem of mass migration. Look, there are dead bodies every day found at the U.S. border. Is that a good thing? No. And the way the synthetic left talks about immigration is so goddamn cringe. The crisis of mass migration is a serious problem. Dead bodies every day on the Mexican border is a bad thing. What Guatemala and Honduras have been subjected to for decades with drug cartels and gangs and people not being able to live in their own home and living in underdevelopment is a bad thing. Capitalism is creating a situation where people can't live in their own country, where people are desperately poor, and that is not something to celebrate. And the fact that so many people have to flee to the United States, it's not a good thing. And if you just celebrate, oh, the American dream, let's have a welcome the refugees parade, yay! That is so cringe. Conservatives see that it's cringe. They're like, it's not a good thing that thousands of people are piling into the United States, right? It is driving down domestic wages. That's true. It is, it does involve criminal organizations. There's plenty of organized crime involved, but they don't have any solutions. Their solutions are what? Well, we'll send the police to kick their ass. That's not going to help. Oh, we're going to deport them all. That's not going to help. Oh, we're going to build a big giant wall. That's not going to help. None of that's going to help. Right. And so when people don't put forward solutions that actually help, that's the same as wokeness. Wokeness and whatever you want to call it, the anti immigrant bigotry, they're the same because they don't want to solve problems. They just want to hate. It's all just about hate. That's all it's about, right? These anti-immigrant people, I hate immigrants. I want to deport them. I want to build a wall. I want to tear. They don't want a solution. They just want to hurt people. They're mad. And the same with woke. Wokes are the exact same way. Do they want to improve the lives of African Americans? No, they just want to punish somebody for being rich. You got white privilege. You're a racist. Are they mobilizing to provide jobs in the black community? No. Are they mobilizing to bring people together and organize for economic justice? No, they just want to punish people, right? Hate is a destructive emotion, right? Wokeness and I don't know what you want to call it, right-wing nationalism are both just about hate. That's all they're about. It's about fomenting hate, and hate is destructive, right? Their hatred for the immigrants, their hatred for Muslims, their hatred for, white people for being privileged, their hatred, it's all just hate. And hate doesn't solve anything. It just makes things worse. And there's a lot of fucking hate mongers in this world, a lot of grifters who've discovered that there's a lot of lonely, isolated people who are broken, who are hurt, who have been cut off from their peers, who feel like they don't belong, who love to hate. And hate makes a lot of money for people, right? If I just got on here and hated, right, every night, I just hated. I found a group of people I didn't like. I was on here and I hated trans people, or I got on here and I got on here and I hated transphobes, right? I got on here and I hated white people, or I got on here and I hated immigrants, right? A lot of people would watch it because that doesn't challenge them in any way. It doesn't ask anything of them. It doesn't encourage them to do anything. It doesn't, make them take any responsibility for the future. I just give them permission to hate, right? And that is so easy to do. It is the best way to grift, left wing or right wing. I'm not equating them necessarily, but it's the same thing. Anyone who gets on here and is just like hate, 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 hate is a grifter. I'm on here talking about a government of action to fight for working families. I've put forward a 4-point economic plan to improve people's lives. I'm talking about socialism and the city building tendency, Marxism, Leninism, Mao Zedong thought, Deng Xiaoping theory, Christianity, Bolivarianism, the whole history of our movement. That's what I'm on here talking about. And that's a much harder pill for people to swallow. It's much easier to just get on here and hate. And that's what a lot of these people do. They're just haters, and hate is toxic. I'm not on here preaching hate. I get angry sometimes. I'm angry right now. Honestly, but I'm not a hater, right? I'm not a hater, right? And that people that just put out a bunch of hate and people whose only goal is to punish other people